Hi all, and welcome to another edition of UXDX. My name is Catherine and I will be your host for tonight. We've got a great lineup of speakers this afternoon, very diverse and different kind of thinking. So I'll just give you a brief overview of UXDX and our goals. The world is full of very bad software, incredibly so in today's age, and it's our mission to help companies and bring people together to build an environment that makes it impossible to build bad software. How do we do this? So we very much try and help teams shift from that project-focused mindset to cross-functional product teams. So integrating UX and engineers and the entire product team for better outcomes. Tonight, if you've got any questions, they're on the right-hand side of your chat. There will be a chat, so please feel free to ask any questions you have. You can ask them at any time, and at the end, we will read out your questions to the speaker. If you are on Slack, you can also do the same. We'll collate stuff, or if you're on LinkedIn, tuning in, either the same situation goes. That's our Slack channel. Now, today we have first up on the agenda is Mary. How are you doing, Mary?
Hi, Katrine. Thanks so much for having me. I'm doing great.
Great to have you. So you're going to be giving us a perspective on healthcare. So gamification in healthcare. I think it's something that's obviously important to all of us, and it gets increasingly more important as we age and we see people age. We start to understand the importance of healthcare, and you're talking about the AI and everything in between in it. So I've no doubt there'll be some questions afterwards, but I'll say goodbye for now, and I'll talk to you at the end.
Yeah, thank you so much for the intro. All right, so a few words about me. I've been working with healthcare companies, helping them design products and services for the past 7 years. So I had a chance to work with both smaller companies, helping them bring the product from scratch till launch and then growth stage till unicorn stage. And also I had a chance to work with corporations like CVS Pharmacy and others. Today we'll be diving into gamification in healthcare. And to be honest, games have a powerful influence on our behavior. When I was a kid, my mom found a computer game called something like Clean Teeth, so I could learn to keep my teeth clean by playing fun simulations. So I was running around the rows of teeth, cleaning them to prevent cavities. And these simple games stick with us because they tap into very human behavior, that we love challenges, but we hate being forced into them. And that's why many years later, I still remember this game. Our health choices are significantly shaped by our upbringing, right? So we absorb what our parents do, how they behave, if they work out or not. And later on, when we are exposed to other stimuli, we change what we have learned earlier, and maybe we can improve our health. And right now, this year's, you can definitely see that more and more people, especially millennials and Gen Z, they are more interested in investing in their health and wellness purchases. So we have a lot of information about how to be healthy, how to eat healthy, how to ensure that our lifestyles are as optimized for longevity as possible, but at the same time, we do not really know very well how to maintain these healthy behaviors consistently. So the problem is probably not in knowledge and not even in lack of interest, as we can see. Gen Z and millennials definitely want to invest in this, but the problem is in motivation and engagement. So we will be exploring how gamification can bridge this gap between the health knowledge and actual health action. So we can see here gamification loop. And gamification necessarily is a combination of different factors. So it's a challenge. Then if we win the challenge, so if we win some conditions that were set in the challenge, we get the reward. Then our position is shifted somewhere on the leaderboard. We may receive some rewards, for example, badges or trophies. Then we want to share it with a social network. Then we get our status updated. And everything is centered around the point system. That's exactly how we understand if we actually are good enough to receive a reward and badge or not. And if we go back to the tribes and how come it happens so that we are so obsessed with games and with achievements and recognition, we will be able to trace interesting evolutionary origins. So for most of human history, survival was impossible without group membership. So our early humans, they faced predators. They did not have all the resources they wanted, not unlike we can have any food right now. So it's not about calories being consumed, it's about calorie restriction right now for us. Also, many other challenges that required collective action. And being rejected from the tribe often meant deaths, and quite literally death. Not like right now, it's mostly emotional damage and that's it. So this has created a pressure to develop some behaviors that secured our position within this group, within this tribe. And high status individuals received the best treatment. So they got the best food, the best sleeping positions, so safety, and great influence. And this actually shaped the way our brains work, even right now. So our ancestors had to be very sensitive to social approval and disapproval. Because if they were not approved by the group, by the community, it's quite possible that they would die alone. That's why our brains reward pathways respond strongly to social approval. It is ingrained in this human nature. So we release dopamine and other chemicals when we receive positive social feedback. For example, we have achieved something, the community has approved us or our achievement has been valuable enough, and we release dopamine. But on the other hand, social rejection activates the same brain regions as physical pain. So it's already part of our nature. How it manifests right now is that we pick our phone, and the difference between, for example, social media addiction and addiction to our health apps, it's not very big, right? So we definitely pick our phone, check our status, and then based on what we can see, either we received approval from the community, from our fitness app or health nutrition app, or our coach, or anything else health related, really. For example, we have achieved our health goal, dopamine increases, we feel happy, and then in some time dopamine decreases. So there is no huge difference in how this works if we are speaking about health related products, social media, any other maybe unhealthy behaviors. We are always triggered by something that helps us release the dopamine. I feel good, and after that, keep repeating the same behavior. Going back to what I was talking about in the first place, that we must ensure that our position in the community, our position within some tribe is high enough. That's how we survive, right? So we obviously will release dopamine, and we will see this. In this case, you are in top 1% by Strava as a reward, as recognition, as understanding that we are so high in this community, on this leaderboard, which is virtual, really. We do not even know these people in this tribe, but we already understand that we will not die per se, right? So we are in a very good position. And going back to the leaderboards, almost all health-related, fitness-related apps use leaderboards. This one is the screenshot from Whoop app. Same can be found on Peloton and other apps. So they use leaderboards and badges to stimulate users to progress within this community. And I can compare myself to others. I can check the details and actually see where I stand in this social hierarchy. Same in the leaderboard from Strava. Okay, so one important distinction that I need to make here is that this leaderboard, they look like static screens. They are never static. They were never static in traditional societies. They are not static right now. So positions can be gained and positions can be lost. If you have performed well yesterday, for example, you have killed a huge animal, or you have helped to, I don't know, cure a kid or something else, which positions you well in the community. This works only till the next person actually demonstrates value that is bigger than yours. So you always are in perpetual anxiety cycle about maintaining your position. And it's not new. It was always a problem in the tribe. So you had to always keep an eye on these leaderboards, same as we do right now. And interestingly, if you think about the rewards and trophies, those are natural next steps from this leaderboards, right? So we, as parts of these tribes in our ancestral environments, we received the natural feedback when we did something right. For example, if a human successfully hunted, they received immediate feedback. They received some food, meat. Or after that, they received most probably social recognition in their tribe because they brought so much meat. Everybody is happy about it. As a result of that, they received elevated status. And this, again, triggered the response of dopamine release. So this behavior that I'd done something right reinforced the behavior. And obviously, this worked. That's why we have survived. This immediate feedback loop is very important for our learning and adaptation. So finding food, shelter, avoiding predators, we just used exactly the same reinforcement mechanism for all of this. Dopamine release, learning, repeated behavior. And right now, it is much harder to get this dopamine release if you're speaking about some healthy behaviors, like if you're speaking about regular exercise or proper nutrition or even preventative healthcare, right? So the results are delayed by weeks, months, even years, right? So why would I engage in some healthy behavior right now if I'm going to see the result in 10 years? Or maybe when I'm 70, I will see the result. So there is no real feedback right now. And these rewards and trophies at least try to bridge this gap. So these are, again, some of the examples of rewards and trophies that we receive in sport apps, health-related apps, in this case, different challenges that we can accomplish and receive the rewards and trophies. So again, we receive these trophies, rewards, we get this dopamine release, and that's how we keep repeating these healthy behaviors. And interestingly, if we go back to tribal recognition of our rewards, and back to the case when I came home with a lot of meat because I was such a great hunter, we can trace this also in the fitness and health related apps as well. Many weight related apps, so dieting, nutrition focused apps, fitness apps, even sickness related apps, they will quite often include communities where we share the stories why something has worked or something. Usually obviously want to establish our status, so we want to share our achievements. So again, we are positioned better within this community. So we can post about our marathon completion, and we just signal in this way we are providing some value, similarly to how we were providing value many years ago in the tribes. And this way we are highlighting our achievements and making sure that we are earning recognition within our groups. And all of this is closely tied to the point system that we have already started talking about. So we know that there is a reward feedback loop. So I perform some action based on the trigger. So there is first trigger, then we have some behavior. I receive reward, and based on this reward, I decide that I want to keep doing the same thing. So keep repeating my behavior if the reward is something that I feel is meaningful and I enjoy it. It does make sense. And for our ancestors, it did make sense in their daily behavior. For example, again, I hunted animal, I got some reward from the community, and then I keep going and doing the same. This is a very simple example, but obviously for more complex behaviors, it's exactly the same idea. So the feedback loop is very short. So we immediately get feedback. I found great shelter, it is safe, we can avoid predators. I receive feedback that this is great. I should keep doing this. So I should keep making these kind of decisions that help the tribe to survive. I'm the best monkey per se, right? So in the tribe. So the benefits of healthy behaviors, for example, regular exercise, nutrition, are delayed. So we are breaking this habit loop. Because there's no way how I'm going to remember what kind of behavior has triggered this reward if the behavior that I've done was done 10 years ago. Maybe sometimes even 1 month is long enough. So there is a significant gap between action and rewards. And that creates a huge motivational challenge. Because in this case, a human cannot really learn the way we were designed to learn. And this brings us to an interesting question. How can we bridge this gap? Because obviously we need to signal to the human, to the user, to the patient that something is going right. Some of the great examples of this are streaks, progress bars, and other ways to signal that the action that the human has performed was great, was positive, right? So it was healthy. Progress bars work in the same way. So they update it real time, they signal about the progress I've just made. Streaks obviously give us immediate feedback about something that was done a second ago, for example. I have logged healthy activity, I have finished my workout, or I have had very healthy meal or so. And all of these examples, streaks and progress bars, they do make sense and they help us, but they're quite limited, right? So health behaviors, they're very abstract. Reduce the risk of your heart disease. How do we measure it? With streak, it's only about counting the days that I was engaging in some behavior. That's not enough for us. We need more depth. Also, progress bar is not enough. We need to understand what we are working towards. And gamification helps us with this. So we transform our abstract benefits into something that is measurable, something concrete. For example, this is Weight Watchers app, and they have the unique points system, which defines the number of daily points that you can use to eat some types of food. And based on what you are logging, you are using these points. Exactly the same way Zoe Health, which also helps us with our dieting and healthy nutrition, gives us feedback about how healthy is the food that we have just logged. So there is a specific number that is tied to a specific food or workout or any behavior that we are tracking within this app. So we collect these points, complete these challenges if there are any, and achieve these progress markers. And immediately our brain experiences satisfaction. And to be honest, I can even share my personal example because when I was recovering from knee injury, And it was a very long healing process. And it was almost unbearable because I could not see the progress. But when I started tracking this progress markers on a daily, weekly basis, I could actually see how I'm improving. So even these tiny, tiny increments, tiny changes every single day, they compounded in a strong trend upwards. So these numbers actually provide us a structure that we lack in this very abstract health concepts. So the process does not feel endless. It's not like I'm logging this food and I do not know how great it is or how long should I keep going. Another great example is point systems used to enforce the healthy behavior. Again, the health after I log meal that might be not very healthy, they actually give me immediate feedback on what should be improved about it. Again, it's a very nice gamification feature, may be enabled by AI as well. So we understand what was included in this dish, and we suggest a user to, for example, instead of using very sweet fruits, to use something less sweet or add nuts. And this way, again, the user learns immediately. There is no gap. Another great example of point system is weavings. They are tracking multiple health behaviors, and there is also a compound health improvement score. So practically, I earn points for engaging these health behaviors that I decided to track within this app. Eating healthy, and they are all aggregated in this one health improvement score that I'm looking at every single day. So it provides me with some short-term reward cycle and also long-term, because in short-term I may fail today, but I will not fail if I keep doing something that is good for my health in 1 month. Whoop is a good example as well. This one uses daily scoring, sleep performance, workouts. Again, same idea of quantification of my health achievements and ability to influence them and immediately see the feedback in the health app. Very nice example from pacing, because this one is related to sickness and actually tracking the exertion level. So based on heart rate variability, they track how tired we are by performing certain actions. For example, going for a walk or tidying up. And if a person might be sick, it is important for them not to get too tired. So they give this immediate feedback, and we learn if this behavior is bad for us, we will not be engaging in it. And if it's great for us, again, quite possibly we will continue incorporating it into our lifestyle. Same about sleep, quantification of quality of sleep. Interestingly, I just wanted to quickly mention this one because it seems like right after the action is performed, we receive some reward. This is the first chart here, right? After that, immediately after the cue is recognized, we know that we will perform some behavior and then we will get a reward. We already start getting the dopamine spike. Obviously, if the reward is provided too late, we see the decrease here and different changes when we receive the reward, a little bit early or later. But I wanted to highlight the anticipatory reward circuits, which means that it's not just about receiving the reward after I have done something right. So our brains have anticipation of rewards, and how this worked back with our tribes. The response evolved to motivate very complex pursuit behaviors. For example, I needed to continue to track prey for days when I'm hungry. And in this example, again, we are using Zoe Health here. We have weekly or monthly reports with analysis of what a person has done right and wrong and what should be improved. And this creates a state of motivated anticipation. Again, fitness apps, they do the same. So we know that if I'm doing everything right today, and if I'm gonna keep eating healthy or keep working out, I will see that my score for the week will be excellent. And I anticipate it already. Which brings us to actually an interesting controversial question: can gamification harm us? And obviously, there are pros and cons of every method. On the one hand, obviously, immediate feedback loops, they motivate consistency. That's how we evolved. And even looking at my personal examples and many, many other examples of other people, even on the basic shallow level, we keep, for example, moving every day just to complete a specific number of steps, just not so we do not lose our streak, or we do not want to see the gap in the activity rings or anything else. So it does help us. However, we also need to keep in mind that this health metrics, especially when we are displaying them publicly through apps, social platforms, Strava again, it becomes not just personal feedback, it becomes a social performance. And this creates also pressure and focus on external validation rather than our internal intrinsic motivation. So one of the ways how I think this can be balanced was and is integrating not only quantitative feedback but also qualitative feedback. For example, I can assess how I feel right now, 1 to 10, but also I need to provide the response why. Same about workout. How did it feel? So we create a space for narrative, for the history, why this has happened, alongside the number. And yeah, while numbers are quite valuable tools, we also need to design for humans holistically and keep in mind that we are responsible for our products and our designs. Yeah, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or Medium and subscribe to my Substack about design for healthcare, and not only, but mostly behavioral design. Thank you.
That was great. Thank you so much. So I have too many questions to actually get through. So I might get one or two in. First one is that I like is Duolingo is famous for streaks, which you talked about. What company do you think is really doing well with gamification in general, I'm assuming?
Well, like they mentioned, obviously Duolingo is doing great. I will not be saying that they are not. All of the examples that I have mentioned here, which are dozens, especially the ones that are on the market for years, they definitely do it well. So let's say Strava does it well. Whoop does it well. Peloton does it well. Yeah, mostly all top apps, top health apps, you will be able to learn something from this experience. Yes.
And specifically, then there was a follow-up on healthcare. Which one would you recommend for healthcare?
Well, healthcare is a very broad and big segment. So depending on what kind of problems you have, probably as a user, definitely you should keep that in mind. My favorite would probably be Strava again, just not to introduce any new names.
Yeah, no, great to know. And then the other piece was around complexity and challenges. So you talked about the benefits of gamification. What are the risks?
Yeah, that's a great question, because obviously you can say that risks that I mentioned, like having this social performance instead of being intrinsically motivated to perform some behavior, will harm us, because we probably all know some people who are pretty anxious when they are unable to track something, or tracking does not go well, or the feedback that they receive from the app is not what they wanted, and they become super anxious about it. So they are optimizing for the metric rather than the value that they actually want to get from it. So keeping in mind that probably we need to get much deeper than giving the user the number, which is just a very shallow way to assess something, especially when you're speaking about such a complex and deep category as health.
Yeah, no, it's really valid, really interesting. Thank you so much, Mary. I really appreciate it. That was really fantastic. Your talk will be available next week online for people who either want to rewatch it or didn't get the opportunity. So thanks once again, Mary. Next up, we have Seth. Seth, how are you doing?
I'm great, Catherine. How are you today? That was a good talk by Mary.
No, great. Yeah, and looking forward to yours. Yeah, very, very interesting and very, very different topic. So yeah, healthcare is really important, but you've got another important topic, which is design for impact. If you could take a look at your screen. So this is something that we talk about all the time within UXDX. Design as a cost center, designing for strategy. Does design have a seat at the table? So very much looking forward to having a chat with you at the end.
This is great. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to start out with a little limerick for everybody to get your mind flowing. There once was a product from Nantucket whose backlog was stuffed in a bucket. With challenges galore from stakeholders who snore, the PM said, "Let's iterate." Oh, chuck it. I got to give credit to Grant Hunter and Steve Johnson. Grant works with Outsell, a company I'll actually talk about in a little bit. My name is Seth Carpien, and I am the Chief Growth Officer at Tricon Infotech. About 14 years ago, I worked at a company as a sales executive called Small Footprint. 6 months into working there, my colleague on the delivery side, and I swear to this day, if he were bigger than me, he would have grabbed me and thrown me up against the wall. What he said to me was, "Stop it." And I didn't understand what he meant at the time. And he started to explain to me about product, around journey mappings, lean product. He talked to me about agile methodologies, prioritization, all of these different things. He said, you need to stop selling things to people without talking to delivery and engineering or product and engineering. And I think all of you on here know what I'm talking about. There's always been that battle between sales and product and engineering because salespeople tend to sell anything. So I asked him to teach me, and I said, I want to learn all about this. So I spent the next 7.5 years learning about all of these things, the right way to build products. It made me better at business development, able to talk to chief product officers, CIOs, et cetera. When I left that company, we sold it. I actually got pulled into the product world and spent 5 years in healthcare, pharmaceuticals, and CPG in product. So really, really getting into it at that point. We're all familiar with the law of market failure. 80% of products fail, all right? Lack of product market fit, it could be poor execution, inadequate marketing, or just a basic failure to address customer needs or pain points. In other words, we are building to build even if it's not needed. Now, if I were live with you, I'd ask you all to raise your hands and with this question. I wanted to know how many of you have more resources and ideas. I'm going to make an assumption here, and someone who works with me who helped me build this deck, he said, what if people raise their hand and actually say they have more resources? Frankly, I'd have to call the group out because I all think we know this for a fact that we don't have the resources. We have a lot of ideas. So if failures are likely and resources don't exist, shouldn't we focus on building for business outcome and customer problems? There is a blocker, and there's always this desire to use the newest hip tech before knowing the problem or to solve the outcomes. So going back to my sales exec role at Small Footprint, part of what I was doing was selling what customers wanted, the latest, coolest tech. I really ignored the strategy, and back then it was mobile, so I've just aged myself a little bit. There is constant pressure to adopt the latest technology trends. Right now, people are talking about an AI strategy. And speaking frankly, that makes me a little bit nauseous. What about the product strategy, right? Let me give you an analogy from my brief TikTok experience, right? So again, a question that I'm asking, I can't see who knows this or not, but I'm sure you all are familiar with the FYP page. I'm sure maybe some of you have been on it, and some of you have been on it that maybe shouldn't have been on it. And there we go. I blame my young daughters and COVID for that. But the idea here is jumping on every tech trend is like trying every viral TikTok dance. You might look trendy for just a minute, and I got my minute, but if you don't know what you're doing, you're just going to end up confused and offbeat. There are always going to be challenges with leadership when navigating these latest trends, and you got to be prepared for that. The boards, executive leadership teams, CEOs, they want the latest and greatest tech, i.e. AI right now. This leads to building products with the latest tech that are not aligned with business outcome or solving customer problems. And in the case of SaaS companies, you may have customers yelling for something to leverage the bleeding edge technology, but it doesn't address or actually solve that problem. So I'm going to bring up, it looks blank right now, but I want to bring up two studies. The first one I'm going to talk to you about, I saw this in October of last year at an Outsell conference, and this conference is focused on CEOs. Less than 5% of CEOs believe AI will have an impact on their organization. Okay, that one hit me a little bit. I was like, this seems a little bit, I'm not sure that I believe this one. I had to double check the study. So let's just go back to last month in March. Another study was done between Axios and Writer.com. It's an enterprise LLM that you may or may not have heard of. They did this together. Nearly all, 94% C-suite exec surveys say they are not satisfied with their current AI solutions. So think about that. Now, who is to blame for that? It's a question I ask a lot of people. Is it the executive teams? Is it the CIOs? Is it product? Is it product leaders? While you're thinking about that, here's another question. I'm curious to know who here knows their company's mission statement. And if you know it, do you buy into it? If you don't know it, I'll tell you should. Not understanding or buying into this can have a huge impact on clarity of goals and beliefs, and ultimately where the decisions are made from. Right, I'm going to share another study. 83% of respondents in this Outsell study, and I'm sure you're all reading it on stage, so I'm just are on the screen right now, but 83% of the people who responded to this said it was a lack of clear strategy was the major impact on the high rate of failures that we talked about earlier, and also having efficient teams. At my previous company, I was brought in to lead products that made up roughly between 60 and 70% of the company's revenue at the time. There was no clear stated mission or vision, and that led to an organization whose products were driven by a feature factory, and I believe all of you know what I mean by that. So what do we do about that? We have to get leadership to create, if it's not already, clear strategy, strategic goals, and share the company's mission, if they have that, across the organization. And so what I was able to do was work with leadership at this company to get clear strategic goals, which enabled us then to create prioritization criteria and then align just the basic processes for execution, roadmap implementation, demand intake, etc. Let me repeat. It's important to set and maintain long-term goals to make sure the team is aligned with the organizational objectives. You're able to achieve this by developing a strategic product mindset with your team and the rest of the organization. Let's get away from the feature factory effect. Focus on the strategic objectives. Ask yourself and your teams, how does this align with our long-term strategy and objectives? What pillars do they align with, and how do they fit in with our determined criteria? Relate the objectives back to the mission and the vision. I was working in a healthcare organization. This was right after I left Small Footprint, and I was responsible for a product that enabled patient care and interoperability with private practices that were partners with the hospital system. Prior to me coming in, and when I started, we were building features for customers. There was no common vision or purpose. There was no process, no understanding of the problems to solve, and it was outputs over outcomes. So I needed to figure out how to fix that. At first, we had to understand the problem, right? Then once we understood it, we had to come to an agreement and educate each other, the team, and our customers on the mission and the vision. This really allowed us to start executing. It allowed us to start having the right conversations when it came to what we were building. Does this request align with our overall objectives, prioritization criteria, right? A strategic mindset led to better results. What this actually also created, my colleague and I, after this was all done, we realized we kind of had a little bit of a framework. And I don't think this is mind-blowing, right? But you have to analyze the situation. Then you got to educate the team and the customers on things in order to start executing in the right way. And then you evolve, and then you iterate. Strategic product thinking is a holistic approach that involves understanding market needs, aligning with business goals, and it creates solutions to deliver value to the customers and drive growth. This ideology enables you to align your product with your company's goals, strategy, and customer problems. I haven't talked about the technology yet. By utilizing strategic product thinking and its core principles, you become customer-centric and you focus on the problems, not the solution. So let's quickly just a little review of the core principles. And I think a lot of you know it, but maybe it's a little bit of a refresher for some, right? The vision and the purpose. Define a clear why behind the product because it helps to align people on the purpose. What problem does it solve? And does it align with the company's long-term strategy? Become customer-centric. Understand your users through the research, the feedback, and behavioral insights to build solutions that meet their needs. Outcomes, right? Outcomes over output. Focus on the business impact and user success, not just the feature delivery. You need to be aware of the market. You need to understand what the competitive advantage is. Stay ahead. Analyze the trends, the competitors, and industry shifts. For example, I know that in a lot of organizations, not all, sales and product and engineering don't really get along, but that's where you're going to find a lot of that data. Look at the sales data. Look at the products that sell. Talk to the sales team. Understand the customer behaviors. There's plenty of information there. You have to be agile. You have to iterate, continuously test, learn, and refine the product based on real world feedback. Make your decisions with data, right? You got to use the quantitative and the qualitative insights to guide prioritization, investments, and innovation. And lastly, collaboration. You got to collaborate across the organization, engineering, product design, marketing, and sales, because you have to ensure cohesive product strategy. Strategic product thinking turns products from one-off solutions into long-term business assets. It's not just about what you build. It's about the why, the how, and for whom. With my current company, a few years ago, we started working with a very large global organization. And what that company was trying to accomplish, we were trying to understand what were the business outcomes. They had a lot of data, and what were they trying to achieve? And so we started out with that company trying to understand what is the strategy, what is the business objectives, what are their long-term goals, what are the business outcomes they're trying to get to. From there, we knew that we needed to leverage their data in order to drive revenue. So we built a data product. That product has now become a separate division of the organization itself, and it is leveraged in order to build other products to meet the needs of other divisions within the organization. If the conversation is not had at the beginning, understanding where they want to go, or the problems they're trying to solve, you don't get there. But let's face a reality, right? You can't just say we're going to implement this way of thinking. You actually need to create a culture. A very close friend of mine, colleague, and currently my right hand, taught me the importance of using culture to bring this type of change. You must have the clear, measurable outcomes that align with the desired goals and objectives, right? Then you must get the team alignment with the desired outcome so that they understand their purpose. These things can give you the opportunity to empower the team or your team to push back at the feature factory, right? Create that culture of trust on your team. That's the culture that I'd like to create, right? People have their own cultures. Figure out what yours is, right? At the healthcare organization where I was building this product for private practices, our team had to align with what we call the macro, right? The macro culture, which is the organizational culture and what they're trying to get to, right? But we had to create our micro culture, right? What is the culture on our team, right? And so culture isn't about happy hours and ping pong tables. While that's great for team building, right? For us, it was about creating a sense of trust on the team so that they could speak up and push back. And you can have this when everyone understands and agrees to the strategy, right? I still haven't mentioned really technology in all of this. Technology is a tool, not a strategy. Avoid technology for technology's sake. As mentioned, don't talk the how before you know the why. Focus on strategy and outcomes first rather than the technology. Going to kind of shift a little bit here because I think some people who are listening to this are either early in their career, they may be at a midpoint in their career, and you know, they're trying to figure out where they want to go, right? So if you think of everything that we've talked about, you know, about building for outcomes, solving customers' problems, strategic product mindset, all of these different things, there is a reality that a lot of organizations may still not let you get there. They're still going to demand that AI be used, and you got to figure out what to use it for, right? So as you're looking at where you are, decide what your non-negotiables are. Are you okay with just building for technology's sake? Or do you actually want to solve customer problems, build towards business outcomes, see real results from what you're doing, right? And if that is your non-negotiable, think about where you want to be. My non-negotiables that I've worked on are I want to have an impact on the organization. I want to enable empowerment. I want to be a leader, not a manager. So determine what yours are. I'm going to leave you where I started. When trying to please every notion, the product is lost in commotion. With goals spread too wide and no focus to guide, you're left boiling the whole damn ocean. Thank you. Appreciate it.
That was fantastic. And I love it. I was like, did you do that for my sake?
I thought you might appreciate it though.
Thank you. Lots of questions here.
Oh boy, I hope I'm able to answer them. Goodness.
Yeah, I think a few people commented on the 5% of CEOs piece in similar to how you framed it. There are a lot of no's, no ways.
Yes.
Why do you think there's such a disconnect? Because I would agree with them that less than 5% in AI not having an impact in productivity, in ways of working. That naive on us or them?
So I think there's a little bit of both, and I've had this conversation with a lot of people. When I saw that, I questioned it. I'm like, what is going on here? So is there AI being implemented? Yeah, they've enabled some enterprise version of Chat GPT within their organization, things of that nature. What they haven't really seen from it is the ROI. There's a lot of AI that has been implemented, but what is the actual impact it's had? You have a CEO that comes to all the different parts of the organization and say, are you using AI? If you're not, we need to start using it. But wait a second, shouldn't the question be, what is the problem we're trying to solve, and can we leverage it, right? So AI is being used, let's be very clear. But as of last year, there was a lot of uncertainty about whether or not it's actually going to have an ROI, right? What is the ROI on it? That's the big piece for a CEO, right? And I, believe me, I hear everybody who's saying no way, no how. I almost didn't use this statistic until I saw the Axios and Writer study, and look up writer.com. I'm not trying to give them a plug, but they are all in on this space. And if they did this research and found this, it validated that other one for me too. And Outcell's a very, I trust Outcell too.
Yeah, and that is a really interesting point. Like, AI to implement at whatever level is a cost factor. And who is it? Is it going to save time for the team? Is it going, rather than actually increase productivity or look at the business angle?
Yeah. And I would say, I do think that AI will, I am a big proponent of it. We just need to be careful how we use it, implement it.
Yeah, no, very interesting. I've someone here. How can I lead? He must be a management level, or he says, I'm a team lead level looking to influence the product direction more. Where do you start? I don't have any more context than that.
Yeah. That's an easy answer. No, it is. It's very difficult. And I think it all starts with, first of all, and I'm assuming this team lead understands where the team is right now. So you've already done your analysis. So then it really becomes about educating, right? Educating first, understanding what are the organizational objectives, what is the organization trying to achieve, and then remember I mentioned the macro culture, and then you look at the micro culture, which is, okay, now that you understand what the organization is, now you got to get your team aligned with that. Right. And then just start taking some of the frameworks that exist. There are plenty out there, right? There are plenty of frameworks out there that you can bring into your team and just ingrain it into the way that you're doing things. And as the leader, you need to be able to push back too. Mm-hmm. Now, one of the obstacles that a lot of leaders have, though, is stakeholders, right? Mm-hmm. So sometimes it's not, and that's why I talk about the non-negotiables. Right? What do you want to do? What do you want to achieve? Do everything that you can for your team. Support your team. Once they see you support them, from the stakeholders that are asking for, I use the example of blue button versus the pink button. Hey, customer A wants a blue button. Well, customer A, we have a pink button over here. Does the same thing as the blue button. Can I just use that? No. I need it to be blue, right? We want to be able to empower our teams to push back against that. But the reality is sometimes it doesn't work. So just focus on your team for now, and then prove some things out for them so that they can start proving things out to the stakeholders and your other leaders.
Interesting. Yeah, I've been having a few conversations lately. You mentioned about frameworks, and that of people are a bit jaded with frameworks. They're great in theory, and the reality can be very different, because when you get into the practicalities of what you mentioned, like culture, understanding the business, and that's really important, because there's a lack of alignment there. What would you say to somebody who has that kind of disconnect on around frameworks?
So I think that you have to find one that you believe in, right? I think there's a lot of fluff in some frameworks that are out there. I threw up that framework. I'm not going out trying to peddle that as a framework. Let me be very clear. But what it did allow me to do is that wasn't anything mind blowing. It was taken from some other things, right? I mean, it's basic agile methodology, right? The process is there. So it's just, you have to figure out what works for you. You have to believe in it, and then you have to get the rest of the team, right? You can buy 100 books on any framework, but what you have to also understand is that not one framework fits everybody, and you just have to find what works for you and maybe develop your own, right?
Yeah, interesting. So then another person has asked about being a leader versus a manager. How do you give us more context on that?
Yeah, so I've been talking about this a lot with my colleague that I mentioned, worked with for a long time, and it's this idea that in my mind, in my opinion, I look at him as a manager who is somebody that dictates, drives things, and creates a team of almost order takers. Now, that doesn't mean if you have the title manager that that's what you are, but if I'm defining two different people, it's a manager dictates how things are to be done and has less trust in their team and gets more hands-on and digs in, so to speak. Whereas the leader empowers the team and builds trust with their team so that they feel comfortable going out and failing, right? I'm in Boston right now at a conference, and one of the things that we're actually talking today about is failure. Like, how do you entrust your team? Like, how do you get your team to trust that it's okay to fail, right? So I think a leader allows you to fail in order to get better, and a manager, you're scared to fail if it's a manager.
Yeah, that's very interesting phrasing there. I think that's really important way to look at it. Yeah, I read an article. The CEO of Snapchat, the first thing he does in an interview is give them almost like an impossible task and puts them in front of the team, and so they get used to failing on day one.
I would be scared if that was
but we all do it. I say to the team all the time, don't be afraid to fail. I don't care. And the team are ironically very transparent, where personally I have to self-reflect, going, it's a really hard thing to face in reality, failure and looking like an idiot, all of the above.
100%. No, and you have to be brave to do that, because you also have to back your team. If a failure happens and that visibility goes up to executive leadership or to the CEO or whatever, and they're like, well, wait a second, we failed. What's happening? You have to be able to step up in order to, take that, backlash or whatever it may be. I think that's a little strong, but I think you get what I'm saying. Your team needs to see you standing up for them in order to actually, you can't just tell them to fail, right? Go ahead and fail. It's okay. They have to see you empowering them, backing them up, having their back, so that it's okay. They see it's okay to fail.
And that's where the testing comes in. You're not necessarily failing, you're progressing towards a bigger picture or ruling out something fast.
100%.
No, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Seth. Enjoy the conference today. I hope it goes very well.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it's great. And I believe you'll be speaking with Ryan at our in the Priceline office soon. So
I mean, if you've seen this, maybe I'll get better at this. I'm going to talk about the same exact thing, but I'll get to see the raise of hands too in person in New York on the 29th, I think, of April. Yeah.
Love it. Yeah, I was watching LinkedIn. I think one or two people messaged a raise hand at the time. So
a few people. I didn't want to get called out. So thank you so much.
No, it was great. No, thank you so much, Seth. Enjoy the rest of your day, and thanks again. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Great, and that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the sessions as much as we did. If you have any suggestions on topics that you would like covered around cross-functional teams, ways of working, even career direction, please do let us know. We'll be around next week for another session, so keep an eye on the website and our newsletter for updates to that. Thank you again to Seth and Mary for two wonderful talks, and they were very insightful, and we will see you again. Bye for now.